How's it going? I'm Vulture Culture. This is the Polyvox from around 1982 to 1990. No way to really know how old this one is. This is the most famous USSR Soviet synthesizer, and it is very special because it's sort of modeled on the architecture of something like a Minimoog, but it's also duophonic, as you just heard, like an ARP Odyssey, and it has a bunch of other cool features like loopable ADSRs and things that I haven't seen in any other synthesizer. I was using sample and hold to create that particular patch, and it's famous because you can overdrive the filter very easily by turning up the oscillators, and it has this screaming resonance. And we'll get more into that as we go. It gets out of control really, really fast. And it's just a very special synthesizer. And you'll hear that I have a little bit of tape echo on. It's down 25 decibels just to help the thing kind of have a little bit more space to it. But I'm Vulture Culture. Please like this video, subscribe to the channel. We do a live stream every Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern, so please come hang out. That's what you're watching right now. And yeah, so let's get started. What I'm going to do is try to sort of initialize this a little bit. So I'm going to open the filter up all the way. Everything's in Russian, so I believe I have memorized the panel to explain everything. We'll go through everything just bit by bit here. So let's turn off the oscillators and the noise. I was using a little bit of noise there, and reset the oscillator so it's not really overdriving. And then we can control the shape here and just get it so it's tight. And you'll notice that the there's a little portamento here, so that's over here to the left. I think you guys can see that. And I'll put it into monophonic mode. We've got 1 RON and 2 RON. 1 RON is monophonic, and 2 RON is duophonic. So just like on an ARP Odyssey, you can have both of the voltage-controlled oscillators play at the same time. I think you can. What? Oh, you have to turn the other one up. Right? But we'll leave it in 1 RON mode right now, so we can check out the sound. Right? Super cool. One thing that I was immediately shocked by with the synthesizer is actually that the oscillators are very bright. I was using this in a mix earlier this week, and I was like, wow, that sawtooth really cuts. Really beautiful, honestly, and it kind of reminds me of the Roland SH2 in that sense that it has that super bright character that you don't get from a lot of analog synths. A lot of analog synths can kind of be like blurry and dark. It sounds really good. We can control the range of the oscillator. Right? So, by the way, Polyvox, this is the oscillator section. So we'll focus on this real quick. We have 5 different wave shapes. There's no way to create pulse width modulation, but what we can do is check out these different waves. So we're on saw right now, but we can go over to triangle. And the thing that I notice about that waveform immediately is that there's a buzziness that comes through. So a lot of triangles will sort of be muted, almost like a sine wave. In this case, you get that sort of hollow, almost square wave-like character to the body of the triangle, but the top end retains some of that fizziness from the sawtooth. So I'm assuming that in the wave shaping, that it's wave shaping that sawtooth wave into a triangle wave. That's how most analog synths work. And in the process, you're still getting a little of that buzziness, which sounds super great. Sounds really great up in this range. Really cool. Then, of course, we have the obligatory square wave, which, comparing that to the sawtooth, not the biggest difference. Sounds really beautiful. Then we have more of a pulse wave and then a narrower pulse. We'll check that out real quick. Game Boy sounds, and then we could go very narrow. Right, so those are the different wave shapes we have here. You can control the wave shape with the modulator. So the modulator's in this upper left-hand section. We've got 3 wave shapes here and a rate control. So if we increase that, you'll notice that you're almost at max, where you're still relatively slow with the LFO, and then it just goes crazy. Like, we're at 5 of 6, and that seems pretty slow for 5 of 6. We can go full audio rate with that, which is cool. If you want to modulate things, create vibrato. Of course, if we bring in oscillator 2, we can create a vibrato on only one of the oscillators if we want. Pretty ugly sounding vibrato if you do that. But you can do that if you want those types of sounds. If we want to bring this down, get some really ugly electro bass type sounds, that is possible. And of course we could modulate this with different wave shapes. So we've got triangle real quick. We could square wave that. So right around there seems to be about an octave. You can do that if you want. Then we have noise, which in this case is going to modulate the pitch of the LF or of the voltage controlled oscillator with noise, which is an interesting sound. So up high, it's kind of cool. We have a noise source here, so we can just hear that real quick. But we're modulating the pitch of the voltage controlled oscillator with noise, which I think sounds better up here than it does down here. There you just kind of get some fizziness, but up here, get some really cool sort of industrial, interesting, windy type sounds. Using that with the triangle wave might be interesting. Kind of almost getting a sort of ice fields type sound. Razor sharp like my Korg Sigma. Does it have cross modulation capacity? It does. So you can see this one, Rehepatop 2. What that means is we're going to cross mod the oscillator 1 with oscillator 2. Real quick though, I just want to finish off with this modulator. We also have sample and hold. We want to get some sort of R2-D2 sci-fi, you know, like 70s sci-fi sounds. Sounds like some sort of computer console from a 60s or 70s retro future spaceship. So we have that as an option for the modulator. Much cooler on the filter in my opinion, but I wanted to show it here now. It's easier to understand some of this stuff. Definitely a Wumpscut type sound, Wes. For sure. But anyways, I'm going to put that back to triangle now and just kind of leave it wherever. Let's check out the cross mod. So I'm going to pull up 2 sawtooths. And we will start with them at the same level. Really beautiful detune, by the way. Let's just take a second to... Just really nice out of the gate. Again, reminds me a lot of that Roland SH2. Super bright sound, super clear. Gorgeous out of the gate. So let's see what happens if we mess with the cross mod. Sort of getting almost like a ring mod type thing. Famous sort of Moogie type of thing there. I don't actually know if I'd have to look at the source and see if the Minimoog can do cross mod. I'm imagining it can. But anyways, as we adjust the ratio of the oscillators here, we'll get different amounts. We can get these really bell metallic type stuff. And if we move these over to triangle waves, let's see what happens. Really beautiful sort of... Ooh, we can get some really cool stuff. You hear that bass that's being caused by the intermodular distortion. So intermodular distortion is, as opposed to harmonic distortion. So harmonic distortion would be like when Jimi Hendrix plugs that Stratocaster into a Marshall tube amp as it cranks up the drive and you get that famous electric guitar sound. It's harmonic distortion. It means it correlates to whatever note you put in, you get that out. Intermodular distortion is different because it's not correlated in the same way. And that's why even though we're tuned really high, we're getting a bass note because we're getting weird sum and difference, essentially math values that are causing very low notes to occur. So you can hear that there's almost like a third sine wave oscillator downstairs. I don't know if you guys can hear that on your systems. Interesting way to create those sounds. This is without the cross mod too. Really nice and pretty. You can hear that low note coming in. And up here, we're almost getting sort of like an FM piano type sound. Really cool. We could... I'm just curious. we'll get into maybe trying to create almost like an FM piano type sound. I really like using this up top here with the triangle wave, getting that sort of sound. Triangle wave would be the closest thing the synth and most analog synths can do to a sine wave, by the way. Sine waves are what are used in most FM synths to create that type of sound. So, yeah, really cool. What do you guys think so far of the synthesizer, by the way? I know I'm kind of covering everything a little quickly, but I wanted to go through everything so that it was, you know, you guys kind of get familiar with the layout, because since everything is in Cyrillic, it can be a little bit difficult the first time you're looking at it to know what you're looking at. And I think I've memorized it, but we might find ourselves having some trouble as we keep going. So everybody following so far? Any questions, anything like that? Well, without a doubt, the JX8P was made to sort of be Roland's competition to the FM piano. So I am not saying, Lenishad, that this is a better alternative to a JX8P to get an analog FM piano type sound. I'm merely saying that we're getting a characteristic timbre of that using the cross modulation. That's all. Versus just, you know, triangle waves. Getting that kind of bright, brittle sort of FM-y type thing. That's all I'm saving. That's my point there. Anyways, let's go ahead and turn that down for now. We do have fine-tune control of the oscillator, so let's move it back down to 16 feet on both oscillators. Something to point out here too, this synth is fucking giant. It is so much bigger than all of my other mono synths. It is huge. These knobs are very big. Everybody loves a large knob, right? But there is a very plasticky feeling to this synthesizer. It feels simultaneously built like a tank in the sense that like it's very rugged, but it is all plastic, and the plastic itself feels a little cheap. So it's this weird mixture of like, I do think this thing could survive World War III, but the actual feel of it is very tacky. This keyboard feels very cheap. Just want to throw that out there too real quick. What I like about the synth is the sound, but it is not... it's not the, you know, the feel of it is not the selling point for me. Not a Fatar keybed, that's correct. But one of the things that is cool about it is it does feel like it's out of that HBO show, Chernobyl. So that's our fine tune. We can control, again, either oscillator independently with the modulator, if we wanted. And 1 run, 2 run, real quick again, we can put this into duophonic mode and play each voltage controlled oscillator separately. And another really cool thing about this synth is the tuning seems really good. We've got a master tune over here. But to me, I found it to have less issues than the Moog Source, which has less issues than a Minimoog. So, you know, just keep that in mind. Like where we're at in terms of tuning technology, this one's actually very good for voltage controlled oscillators. Chernobyl was scary as hell. If you guys haven't seen it, that was one of my favorite shows I've seen. Just really incredible. So that's some Sawtooth for you. Little 2-run action for you with a sawtooth and a square wave. Good example of how, let's do it one more time, but I'm going to use a pulse, really narrow pulse, and the triangle wave to create these sort of unpredictable timbres as you play. So... you can see that we're getting some priority there on that low note. So actually, let's flip that around. I want to use the triangle wave up top. Again, just to sort of show radioactive, yeah, that, you know, you can get these sort of really cool types of sounds out of it. And then when you play one note, you get both oscillators. You could, of course, use some portamento here. Anyways, just wanted to demonstrate some of the sounds you could get. The oscillator section of the synth sounds really great. You guys can tell me what you think. In my opinion, that's how it sounds. I need to break to consume some gin. It's been at least 13 minutes since I've imbibed. So cheers to all of my SCUM family out there. Let me see if I can get this actually in frame here. Nice little gin cocktail. If you guys aren't drinking, nothing wrong with that. Love that. But if I can get some SCUM cheers in the chat, guys, love you all. And if you want these cool emojis, a really great way to support the channel if you appreciate what I'm doing is become a member. And if you're already a member, you can gift a membership. That's 2 ways that you can help this channel out a lot. Should be right in the chat or right under the video, something that says like join. $5 a month, you get all the Vulture Culture music as well as access to those sweet emojis and a little vulture skull next to your name, which is nice. You can see in the chat we've got some of that going on. Unfortunately, it doesn't translate yet to the screen below me there, but we will get there one day. Love me some gin. Nothing wrong with some gin. So let's go back to just a single sawtooth. And what we will do is now check out the filter section. So the filter is, we'll start with some filter sweeps. Really great analog synth. We're not hearing any stepping or anything. You can hear that it pretty much nulls the note out down by 1, and we still have some range below that. So the upper and lower ranges are a little excessive beyond hearing, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. Turn the volume up a bit while we're doing this. You can hear a little bit of noise coming through. Already kind of has that growly character. Now I'm going to increase the resonance to 50%. It's hard for me to judge. Can you guys let me know? Because I'm listening through these headphones, and one thing they don't do great is give me the best response of understanding where the bass is at. So I actually can't tell listening to this right now how much of like a ladder filter effect we're getting where it's killing the bass. You guys can tell me what it sounds like. Nothing wrong with being a chord guy. I myself am a chord guy. You can see that Poly 6 right behind me. That's at 50%, can't tell. Now, if I bring it up to 5 of 6, you'll hear we really start to get some resonance to it, some shrieking resonance. Really sounds gorgeous, super great. Bass is more mid-range, yeah. Now I'm going to turn the volume down because when at maximum resonance, this thing gets crazy. I got to turn the volume down further. I mean, it really shrieks. right? It's fully self-oscillating. If I dial it back a bit, you're hearing just a little of that oscillator in the distance, but it's still mostly resonance. We're not done though, because right now I'm using one oscillator at about 4 of 6, but we can crank that all the way up and actually get some distortion. That's an amazing thing. So past 50, 60%, we start actually overdriving the filter. You'd start to hear it there. I'll demonstrate here the difference in resonance. Goes crazy right there. So you have this really beautiful voltage controlled filter sound almost there, and then it just goes insane. And then if we crank the resonance all the way up, it's just like, watch your ears, crazy. So I like to not go that crazy. And then what we can do though is in this mixer section here, we can turn on oscillator 2. See how we're getting that distortion in there? Oh, it's so good. If that's not gorgeous, I don't know what is. So you can see why Erica Synths and a bunch of other companies have remade this filter, because it is very, very cool. And it goes a little insane at the top end, you know, obviously. That's like over the top, but if you're just a little bit back of that, you get that very aggressive sound like Jim is saying. I have not ever played a Sonic 6. I'd like to try it out sometime, but I do have a Moog source over there, and that can get pretty gritty, but obviously this might be the king of the dirty monosynths from the 80s at least. So that's the filter section, or sorry, that's just the filter and the resonance. Let's talk about everything else. So these two knobs down here represent the modulator and the envelope. Let's start with the modulator, since we sort of already covered that a bit in the oscillator section. So I set this at 50%. We should hear a nice sort of mid-rangey sound. As I increase the modulator, we should hear the, we'll start with the triangle wave. So we can get these sorts of vowel-y type sounds. Get some nice dubstep wubs in there. Let's go ahead and put that at a triangle and see if we can get kind of a wub type sound. Really something. Let's try it with square waves. It's like shaking my headphones on my skull. 7.5 thousand. Is that near you, Machine Storm? That's pretty good. I'd say that Prophet VSs go between 4 and 5,000 nowadays. Probably 5,000. So that with the programmer, which is about 1,000, isn't the best deal I've ever heard. But would I like to one day own a Prophet VS? Of course I would, but I'm not going to pay that much for it, unfortunately. Love the Rescue on Fractalis Atari game landing on the ship. Yeah, that oscillator with the triangle is over the top. Aliens are approaching. Yeah. Oh, love that blind kitty. PVX 800 is cool, but I don't regret. Not familiar with that, actually. That's very crazy. Anyways, let's go back to the Sawtooth and just kind of go to something more appreciable. Again, let's cover the different wave shapes. We could go to square. Noise. So we can modulate the filter with noise, which is different. Different than if we were we have a noise source here, so let's hear the difference. Feeding noise into the filter. Just a little bit of dirt. But
that is one seriously
yo.
bitch.
Who just dropped some love in the chat? Let's see here. Anonymous with the $20 donation. Thank you so very much, whoever you are out there. You are awesome. Your genitals must be large. I appreciate you very much. So, FMing the filter with noise is a very interesting thing. You could get these really nasty sounds. Seriously, whoever you are, thank you very much. That was generous of you. Versus, that's feeding noise into the filter, but with no noise modulating. Actually, both sound pretty cool. We could do a mixture of the both, right? That actually sounds very beautiful. That is gorgeous. I wish I could save this. As a preset, you're sort of getting these almost, even though we're using sawtooth waves here, we're getting this sort of triangle-y noise type sound. This machine sounds like anything else. Are you saying it sounds like everything else, or it sounds different than everything else, Lenishad? I think it sounds different than everything else. I've got over 20 vintage synths in this room, and I would say this one has a character completely all its own, but to each their own. It's only my opinion, and that's the great thing about being on... Oh, it does sound so unique. Okay. The previous comment made it sound like you thought it sounded like everything else, and I was shocked by that. Yeah, to me it has a very unique sound, and I also fought very hard to get this. This one's from Kyiv, Ukraine, and it was very hard to import it because of the entire situation that's going on over there, so it took a lot of battling, but I finally got it, so... Really beautiful. Jim, I agree, but there are synths that have more or less personality. I've got a couple that don't have that much personality, and this one has it in spades. So anyways, let's go back to just a basic sound here. Back to the sawtooth. You can hear it is super bright. So that's the modulator. We could also control it with sample and hold. Actually, let's go check that out real quick. Tony, how's it going? Welcome to the stream. It was not terrible. I think it's more than I've spent on any mono except for maybe the source. This one is in basically mint condition though, and had a MIDI mod attached to it. So it's super cool that I can use MIDI with this. Like I said at the beginning of the stream, I actually used this in a score recently and it was amazing. But I was shocked by how bright it was. I actually had to cut off some of the top end. It was so bright. For me, sample and hold is cooler on the filter because you get that sort of that sound, but you don't lose the correlation of the notes. Really unique, sort of watery type sound there. Super, super cool. Which Korgs do you have, Jim? This synth, like I said, came from Kyiv, Ukraine, actually. So, super great. And I wish I had the name of the guy I got it from because he was super great. Would recommend him. He went out of his way to package this very well. If anybody's interested, comment below. I'll add it later, the Reverb store. Anyways, that's a thing you can do, is you can control the filter with the modulator. Let's forget about that for a second and move on to the envelope. So this is your envelope depth for the envelope. Up here, we have attack, decay, sustain, release. Attacka, methamphetamines, nebdectin, knock, nabi. Attacka. Let's listen to what the what the synth sounds like. I'm going to dial the resonance back a bit. There we go. So right now we've got some attack at 50, decay at 50, sustain all the way down. We'll increase the release to 50. Really beautiful. If we remove the attack, we've got a pluck sound. I mean, it sounds good. Really beautiful. The resonance is incredible. You can get these like crazy bass type sounds. Let's tighten up this a bit and see how tight it can go. I'll show you the whole range of really slow decay. Almost getting that sort of Oberheim growl type thing. And then we could tighten it up. Turn that down. Pretty tight. Not as tight as the source for what it's worth. Wave state, monologue, op6, and now the Minilog XD. That is a great setup, Jim. I think anybody would be happy with that. A wave state, an op6, and a Minilog XD, that pretty much covers everything. And Korg makes incredible stuff. Yes, they used this in Cyberpunk 2077. I'm glad you pointed that out. It was also used, I want to say, by Franz Ferdinand, and it was in another movie score. I'd have to look it up real quick. But yeah, it's all over the Cyberpunk 2077 soundtrack, which, by the way, reminds me, next week's stream, or we will be in maybe 2 weeks checking out Cyberpunk 2 for Avenger. REFX, aka Vengeance Sound, reached out to me and they want me to check out their new Cyberpunk library. So that's super neat. We'll be doing that in the near future. Do have a Korg Volca, not counting that one. That's pretty awesome. Yeah, it is very bright. Tighten up the release, make some ballsy bass. Yeah, for sure. Anyways, we've been talking about this. I'm going to increase the decay a bit. Dial back the resonance so we have kind of a more usable pluck. You'll notice this knob. So just like we have 1-Ron, 2-Ron, we've got an ADSR shape and then kind of like a double shape. What that actually is we can loop this ADSR. So check this out. I'm going to put it in the 2-Ron mode for this demonstration. No sequencer or anything. That is just using that loopable ADSR. We don't even need to use the modulator. Usually if you would use like a sawtooth wave, you could get that sort of sound. But of course, what's really cool is as I tighten up the decay here, it restarts every time the stage has completed. So if I add release, it'll kind of mess it up. Totally lied there. Release doesn't matter. But as I adjust the decay value, you will hear it change. And we can even add attack to that. So we can get all sorts of different shapes of LFO beyond just sawtooth waves or our custom triangle waves with like a long build and a short stop all the way to reverse sawtooth. Super cool. Very neat. Manuel Slice is a bad slamma-jamma. Yeah, for sure. That has the sound of a classic Moog. Yeah, so this thing definitely has like Moog and Odyssey in its architecture. I have a Moog Source, which is essentially a mini Moog under the hood, and I had an ARP Odyssey in the studio for one day, and I can say there's a little bit of both in there. We got the sample and hold, sort of giving you that Odyssey type sound. Yeah, super cool. Or we could just put it back over here. Yeah. So those are our different options as far as the stages here. We have the same stuff over here. So we could, you know, kind of add matching shapes. Let's set these all to 50% just so we could hear how that sounds real quick. right? So we can kind of get like with these two shapes, we have, this really cool thing. And of course we could use both the modulator and the envelope. Let's do these at 50% to sort of get a different type of sound. We're gonna have to turn up the cutoff to hear it. That's the kill switch, by the way. I don't know why they put a kill switch on this thing. For you to accidentally hit like I just did. Yeah, it is very cool, everything you can do with it. So what else can we talk about? Oh, I totally forgot. There's also a bandpass filter. So low pass here, we could do this exact same stuff, but with bandpass. So that bandpass filter has a different sort of character, kind of thinner as it goes up, but it can also be kind of focused versus the low pass. Which is going to give you more of that low end bandpass again. Both have a really cool sound. I ride Harleys. Welcome back to the stream, my friend. How's it going? Matt, welcome to the stream. It is electric. Yes. It is very ominous down here. That sound is super cool. With the low pass, it's too flubby. Doesn't really give you what you want, but it's really cool, these low notes with the bandpass. Really cool growly type stuff. So that's what this is indicating here, is either low pass or just the bandpass, which is another feature I don't really see on a lot of synths. I don't think any of my other monos have that. You can get bandpassy type sounds with a MS-20, I suppose, by using both filters, but super cool that they have that. Okay, so I believe we've covered the oscillator, mixer, filter, and modulator section. Let's go ahead and move on over to the amplifier section. So I kind of want to just set this into sort of like a kind of basic state. So of course we can make the, so this is Attacca, Decaya, Releasa, Sustaina, and Releasa. That right there has that very Minimoog type sound. Short for tremolo. So we can, let's say we wanted to make like a plucky type sound, but with just the amplifier. Right, we can get those types of sounds, but we can loop the ADSR. And again, the decay stage and the attack stage here will sort of set how the looping happens. So curious if we turn these all the way down, if we can get any sort of ring mod type sounds. We can. All right, so ring mod or amplitude modulation is another way to create distortion in a sound. So we covered frequency modulation, which we did over here, both with the modulator and with cross modulation of the oscillator. Amplitude modulation, also called ring modulation, is its own sort of effect that does this same intermodular type thing where you get weird, sort of chaotic, predictable unpredictability, much like my ex-girlfriend. You'll notice some notes are actually very pretty. Like that one's very cool. But you pick the wrong note and it just all falls apart. Also like my ex-girlfriend. And the tuning here matters. Super cool. And then as we add attack or decay, you can hear what's actually happening is that decay is just going so fast. It's affecting the way we perceive things based off of that, as it approaches the audio frequency range. So by using that looped ADSR, it is a very industrial sound. Death by Media, welcome back to the stream, my friend. How's it going? What is that tuning range, plus or negative? So we got from 32 feet to, let's go ahead and show this real quick. I showed it earlier in the stream. 32 feet all the way up to 2. Anyways, just so we can hit that real quick. That's like approaching audio rate. Really interesting sound. So yeah, this amplitude modulation section is kind of awesome. Let's just go ahead and turn the sustain back up. So we can show sort of a similar thing using the modulator. So if I go over here, let's set it to triangle. You can hear that it's adding to the volume, so we actually probably want to turn our sustain down. Getting a real helicopter-y type sound. Turn the oscillators down a bit. One thing is the modulator's like really slow until it's really fast. I think the modulator is stopping just kind of shy, though, of full, amplitude modulation. I do love a nice tremolo type sound though on a synth. But let's see what happens if we use both of these at the same time. Is that how you say comrade synth? Yes. Yeah, so it's sort of like Polyvox, like polyphonic vocals, maybe. But the name's actually a bit of a mystery. Yeah, it's really cool. Yeah, really, really crazy what can be done here. Let's turn that off. And turn that off and increase the sustain. What does this knob do? I actually forgot what this knob does. You can hear that. Oh, I see what it does. It puts it into drone mode. It's a hold switch, so we could use the synth more as a drone. Not sorry. So yeah, that's another thing you could do. How's it going, Mighty Pinto, my brother? How is it been, my friend? Yeah, this synth is craziness. You should get a Jordan's new Bless Sample Whiz too. Make some one-shots with your synth. I haven't heard of that. I have heard of Sample Robot, Tony. Got to get some gin into the system. Can I get some scum cheers in the chat real quick since Mighty Pinto's here? Cheers to you, my brother. How's it been? We're checking out this synth from the 80s, USSR. Here's another really cool factoid about it. I was asking my friend Alexander, who's from Russia.
Seriously perverted bitch.
Yo! Jim, welcome to becoming a member. That is so awesome. I appreciate that. Super, super cool of you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Enjoy the emojis. And you have access to the entire Vulture Culture library, or at least some of it. I don't think I have it fully updated. Some of the members-only tracks that you hear in the intro of these videos. When this came out, this was 800 rubles, which was, according to him, approximately, like, I think half of a year's salary for an engineer in 1986. So one of these guys cost half a year's salary, right? So assuming, to put that into perspective, the median salary in America is something like $50,000 a year. So that would be like this synth costing the equivalent of $25,000 to a Russian. But with the exchange rate and everything, it was only like $3,000 back then or something like that, equivalently saying that that's how little people were making in Soviet Russia at the time. So it's pretty crazy that this ever even got made. Glad you find me impressive, and you've got that sweet vulture skull next to your name. Awesome. Yeah. It's a one-shot sampler. On sale, $50 or so. Oh, that's pretty cool. Oreos. Love a good Oreo. Okay, so we have covered this section as well. Now let's move on over to the left side, the final side of the synth. We've got a couple of things. We have, I believe this is headphone volume. Doesn't seem to do anything because I don't have that plugged in. We have master tune. That's a thing. We have portamento. You notice there's a little bit of analog differences in the two oscillators. Which almost gives it a sort of brassy type sound. I use that trick on the Roland D50 to give you that sort of a thing. A little bit of that action. 800 rubles was 1-to-1, so around 800. Well, I'll have to ask him about it. My friend Alex is from Russia, and he is one of the smartest people I know, and he actually works as a Russian translator. So I'd have to go through that again, but he did show me the numbers of the equivalency, but I might have gotten something wrong because I'm just repeating what he told me verbatim. But I do believe, though, that the part about the salary was correct. I might have gotten the American part wrong, but I don't think it's a Red Scare thing. I think it's probably just me messing up because I'm not good. So we have portamento. We can go really slow. It's interesting. It's like only on one of the oscillators. I wonder if there's a setting for that. Maybe if I put it on 2, Ron? Anyways, those are things. We've got the volume knob and then, like I said, the kill switch. $1982, Jim. So this was, I believe it's Vladimir Kuzmin is the name of the designer of the synth, and I believe it was 1982, and made for about 10 years or so. Definitely an interesting thing. Fact check me on anything I say because I don't have the notes or anything right in front of me. It really does have that brassy type of sound, though, with the portamento. Let's go ahead and try to make a little brass sound. Now that we've covered everything, if you guys want me to try to make any sounds, I'm going to start with a really resonance, brassy type thing. Would need to Google that. Be a nice VST. Yeah, there are, I believe there is a VST recreation of this. And then also, I think the modular community has really embraced the synthesizer. I was talking to a buddy of the channel, Dub Station, earlier today, and they were talking about the different modules they have that replicate the filter. So let's start with just the filter and add some attacca and decaya, but I'm going to put the sustaina to about 50% as well, and we'll just leave it all at 50 to see what happens first. Oh, we have to add some envelope amount. pretty ballsy without any resonance there. Sounds really ballsy. Even though I don't really use MIDIs unless I'm desperate, I do have Pro Tools and FL Studio. Hey, nothing wrong with that. I actually love using software. Omnisphere, Undercurrent. I just checked out Gemina from Luftrum and Sonic Underworld. Really cool stuff. I use both. I'm not a hardware purist by any means. Although almost all of the hardware I have is vintage. And even there, I'm not a purist. It's more just for me, for the YouTube channel. I think it's more interesting to check out these ancient machines. But I think the modern stuff, in a lot of cases, arguable if it sounds better, but what it definitely is more usable. I mean, the sequential stuff, Novation, a lot of companies are putting out stuff that have wonderful interfaces, better than what they had in the 70s and 80s and 90s. So they're Behringer's doing a Polyvox clone, supposedly. Well, Behringer seems to be doing a clone of everything, which is, depending on your persuasion, a good or a bad thing. I have to say, I think products like Neutron and DeepMind 12 are more exciting to me. And then I guess there's nothing wrong with cloning synths that the original manufacturers aren't making anymore. So the fact that there are no Polyvox coming out anymore with this nice 69 sperm symbol here, then cloning, it's one thing. I think when they clone synths by manufacturers that still exist, that's a little bit more interesting. But on the other hand, when you think of manufacturers like Yamaha and Roland that have almost entirely eschewed analog synthesis, they're sort of asking to have somebody come along and make analog recreations of their stuff. Versus, so that's one thing. On the other hand, UBXA versus OBX8, that's more ethically, that's a thing. But I do believe when they started UBX8 that there wasn't, Oberheim wasn't a thing at the time. Let's see here. Let's see. He posted on his social media about a year or so back now, Kuzmin, that he was heading the reproduction of a new version with the Behringer people. Well, that's awesome, actually, then. The new Mini Monster from GeForce sounds pretty cool. Yeah, I saw that came out, today? Really neat. GeForce, obviously, sort of like the OG, really great VST producers of vintage synths. Really cool stuff. What's his name? Dave, can't think of it off the top of my head. Spears? Yeah. Almost bit on the Behringer ARP 2600 when it went on sale last Xmas. Love GeForce and Posca and Stream Machine. Old clones, cool ripping modern products. Sussy. For me, I'm a little bit, I would say I'm an agnostic on the topic, but I do love when, that there's manufacturers putting out products for prices that people can really afford. That's a good thing. Intellectual property stuff, that's not always the best thing. And, so that's kind of part of the whole deal. And, I don't really, it's not that I'm trying to be cagey, I just really don't know where I land on that topic. And again, for me, I'm a vintage synth guy because it's fun to play with these vintage synths, but I also have made a lot of money off of music. I'm a mastering engineer and I was a professional DJ for 10 years. And I get to work with some of my favorite artists. And, Appuie la Nuit had a #1 record in Germany this past year. And I mastered that record. So it's different for me to spend a little bit of money on some of this stuff. I really don't think I could recommend beginners to necessarily go down the path I have. Although what I will say is there's a lot of really cool vintage synths that you can get for around the prices of modern synths. And assuming they're in good quality like this one is, there's an advantage to vintage synths because they hold their value. Like the only synth I've really lost money on was the Korg Prologue, because I bought it new. So it's sort of like when you buy a new car and you drive it off the lot, it dropped in value substantially. Well, for me, something like this is going to hold its value, or probably go up, but at least hold its value. Doubting Tom 37. Forever DAW Synth rut, just went for DeepMind 12 and really impressed. May even add a 12D for polychaining. Yeah, I mean, I think the DeepMind 12 is a really cool synth. I don't recommend it on my, it's not that I don't recommend it, I don't mention it on my, I do a video every year talking about what are the best synths in the market from my perspective. And the only reason is I've had enough people leave comments on my videos where they're like, the build quality wasn't right, or the fan's really loud, it overheated, stuff like that. It doesn't seem like all of them are like that. It just seems like they put out more units that have issues than your typical synth manufacturer, which makes sense. Like, right, you buy and this happens even with big synth companies. I mean, I think Jamie from Geosynths had like 3 times he had to send back his Quantum, and then same thing with like his Arturia Polybrute. I want to say he had to send back a couple of times. Sequential stuff it happens to, but if nothing else, it seems like either the frequency of the Behringer manufacturing issues are worse, or it's just the fact that it's thought of as a low-end brand, that when you get one that's banged up or something's wrong with it, you go, well, it's because it was cheap, right? But what should be said is Sequential and all of those other companies put out stuff. There's always going to be, from any manufacturing line, some synths that come out kind of a little fucked up. Lemon's here, and she's trying to drink my gin. Lemon. Everybody loves lemon. Okay, can I get some? She doesn't like being picked up. Can I get some lemons in the chat here? Lemon is my blind cat. Don't drink the gin, Lemon. She's missing an eye. She's a very special, slightly wonky cat that we cherish very much in this household. Never went with the Prologue for obvious reasons. Let's see what else is going on here. Wasn't reading chat for a bit here. Hey, Tiberian, welcome to the stream. How's it going? I only heard one demo of the Prologue that didn't sound worse than a soft synth, so I skipped it. I like the sound of the Prologue, but I do understand that it had like a certain kind of noisy, dull character to it that I liked. Sort of a little bit of a scooped oscillator sound. Really great effects section. I like the Prologue, but I understand why it wouldn't be for everybody. How to get rid of my DW8000? That hurts. Although I will say that of the vintage synths, the DW8000, I could understand getting rid of it. It's so dark. I was using it in a mix the other day, and I was just like, you cannot apply enough shelving and tilt EQ to make this thing fit into a mix. It's just so deep and dark, which is super cool if you like bass. But not every sound needs to be a bass sound, and it's like everything feels pretty far away. On the other hand, it is beautiful. Yo, what's up? It's Romex King. How's it going, brother? Back from the Philippines. Check out the GSE7 from Argentina. Wonderful sounding modern analog synth. Yeah, that's a thing I've seen a bit about. Your Prolog 16 really tempted. Just got too close to sequential alternatives. Yeah. My problem with the Rev 2 was, just comparing the raw sounds of the synths. I didn't love the Rev 2 as much. On the other hand, Jim Daneker, my boy, did a video on his channel comparing the OBX8, the Prophet 5, and the Rev 2 as far as pads go, cinematic pads. And man, the Prophet Rev 2 sounded awesome. I was like, holy shit. It's kind of like putting the OBX8 and the Prophet 5 to shame because of the fact that you can do things like run the synth essentially in like a binaural mode where you've got left and right is different. It's like super wide and big. And then you've got the Prophet 5 that's in mono. And it's just like, wow, that sounded really like, just not as exciting. So the Rev 2 can be really cool. Baking brownies right now. The rack version someday. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I get it. I'm poor Anna has to put up with all of me like taking over the entire room here. And I've got more synths coming. It's a thing. But it's one of those things where, for me, I like big, charismatic, giant synthesizers. Well, that was interesting, using noise on the amplifier. Super cool. Let's see here. Chorus sucks. I'm missing where that's going on there. You don't like the chorus on the GSE7? Is that what you're saying, Lenashad? I don't know. Realistic MG1, a Radio Shack release licensed by Moog. Yeah, so I looked at that. You had one in 82. That's super cool. I actually would love to try one out on the channel. I didn't want to invest in one because they're famous for having build quality issues today. I think it's something to do with the sliders get really fucked up. I didn't want to deal with that. So I ended up getting really lucky on a Moog Source, which, kind of out specs-wise anyway should be superior to some of the lower end Moogs from the 80s. But really, though, like the Prodigy and the Rogue and the Realistic Concert Mate, a couple of the other ones like that, really, I'd be interested to try them out to see if they compete with the Sonics, with the Source, or if you need, or if it's worth getting a Source if you can afford it. Hey, Anna. Let's go ahead and go back to trying to, let's open this up all the way, turn the resonance off, turn attack off, and try and go back to that E-piano sound I was going for. What am I doing wrong? What did I do? What? Where did it go? Where's the sound? What? Oh no. What am I doing wrong? Was that it? Is the synth over? Was this? Let's go ahead and do the classic off and on. I don't think it'll work. Bring up the VCO. They're here. Mixers all the way up. Maybe that was the end of the synth. Did it die? Okay, so we can add noise. I'm probably being stupid. Was it like, oh, I know what I did. It was bandpassed, which sounds like you can go like so high. Oh God, I thought my heart fell through my asshole. I thought I fucking destroyed the synth somehow. Need to be on the low pass here. Wow, that was terrifying. Okay, thank you guys for putting up with me. I totally thought it did Aquatic. I was about to cry. Cry real man tears. Yeah, for sure, Doubting Tom, I definitely was not saying your DM12 will have problems. I was just saying why I haven't talked about it more on the channel. Because it seems like some people did have issues with it, and I don't want to recommend something to someone. Yeah, time for more alcohol, for sure. Cheers to all of you guys for making it with me through my trauma. Here's a little bit of some gin for you guys with a little bit of basil. Love you all the SCUM family. Daddy needs a little gin after that heart failure. Holy shit. Okay, so going back to triangle waves, let's crank up that cross mod. The reason I'm using the triangle waves again is it's closer to sine waves. So when they're both that same 4-foot octave, you start getting that intermodular thing down low. You're hearing almost like a sine wave down there. That's the difference. Interesting that you can cross mod without having this up. I was used to think of hard sync, but that sounds pretty good. Okay, starting with that, now let's apply some decay. Sort of getting that kind of piano type sound. Yeah, or more than one. Yeah, sometimes you have to be smarter than your opponent. Cheers, guys. So that obviously is too low of a sustain level. Sustain a. Right, so let's apply some detune to that upper. Oh, this is interesting. So let's turn this down. Can you guys hear that? There we go. Now we're getting some real stuff. Crazy. Crank some resonance to really get some sharpness in there. We have gone really into some interesting territory here. Does that use Aftertouch? No, it doesn't. I don't even think Aftertouch was really around back in 1982. The synth was certainly from before MIDI, although it was made past the point that MIDI existed. But I'm trying to think off the top of my head. What was the first synth that used Aftertouch from Roland? Would have been the GX8P from 1985. So that's around the time that Aftertouch started getting introduced to synths. And again, this was made into the 90s, but very early 90s, I mean. But it certainly was a 1982 design. So more like a vibraphone, e-piano-ish. Yeah, we're really out there now. Yeah, super interesting sorts of sounds you can get out of this very quickly. Interesting, so here you're only hearing it in the release. So while I'm holding a note, you don't hear that chirp. really sort of alien talking type sounds. The GX8P's aftertouch sucks, really. I'm surprised by that. I've got a D50 and the aftertouch on that is great. I also had the aftertouch replaced on my Roland Alpha Juno 2, and it's amazing. So I'm surprised it's not that good. Channel some Stranger Things cosmonauts. I have to say, I don't use Crossbot enough. All right, let's see if we can get back to just like kind of a standard sound here. It's interesting how crossmod affects the pitch of oscillator 1. Yeah, actually, Tiberian, I did a poll over on the Vintage Synth group over on Facebook asking like, hey, what synths have both voltage-controlled oscillators and aftertouch? Not even polyphonic aftertouch like the CS80, which is that and the, let's see if my memory serves correctly, the Prophet T8 had polyphonic aftertouch, as does the Rhodes Chroma and the Ensoniq SQ80. I think basically that's it as far as poly aftertouch is concerned with vintage synths anyways. Interestingly, the Chroma Polaris can receive polyphonic aftertouch, meaning that in theory I should be able to actually use poly aftertouch with the SQ80 as a controller. I haven't messed around with that yet. That's a thing I could do with my SQ80 and my Polaris. But as far as aftertouch is concerned, it was more of a thing with most synths, somewhere around 85. 83, the DX7 certainly had velocity, but it's like crazy. Like when you think of like most of the legendary synths, all of the Jupiters, all of the Junos, all of the Oberheim, OB series, OBX, OBXA, OB8, none of them had fucking velocity, right? Korg Poly 6, no velocity. Like most of the legendary synths that we talk about didn't even have velocity, much less aftertouch. So it's one of those things where, you know, it's easy to sort of romanticize that stuff, but for me, velocity is a pretty basic feature. Not everybody uses aftertouch. I've enjoyed it quite a bit on some of my sound design with the Roland D50, but for a lot of the time you don't really need aftertouch, but velocity is a big deal when it comes to expressiveness. This synth doesn't have either, but you know, with mono synths it's a little different, right? You're trying to create a different type of thing. For me, the aftertouch and velocity is much more fun with pads because you've got a bunch of notes going on and you can kind of control that. Yo, what's up? It's Jim from Edgetone Studios. Yes, that is correct. So the original DX7 is capped at 100 out of 127, which means that converting patches is weird. I don't know if they fixed it on the Mark II, the DX7 II, but I know it's an issue. I believe they did, and that's like why with like the Yamaha DX7 II or SY series, you can't get perfect conversions there without doing something like capping the velocity. It was really weird that they capped the velocity at 100, but that's a lot of what the vintage synth game is. You know, it's like all of these synths are kind of wonky. Which, by the way, how's that AX80 treating you? So Edgetone Studios also does Waveform Mountain, one of my favorite new bands out there. Really cool synth pop type stuff. So if you haven't yet, go subscribe to Edgetone Studios and subscribe to Waveform Mountain. I don't know, Jim, if you could drop that in the chat real quick. That would be super cool. You can definitely get some sort of acidy type sounds. John, sorry about that. My apologies. Yeah, the DX1 is insane. I think there's only like 300 made or something. Less than that, maybe. Have to go watch that Centaur video. I'm thinking it might have been like 140 or something crazy. So I was using, you have a DX5, that's crazy. I do know one guy actually up here in West Palm that has a DX5. I'd love to try it out sometime, but we'll see. I did have to kick him out of a bar I work at once, so he seems like he's cool with me, but it's like a super weird thing, like, you meet a vintage synth person in the wild, and you're like, holy shit, this dude's like into vintage synths, this is so cool. He was like, you're that guy from YouTube. I'm like, yeah, man, like, this is so cool. Wow. And then, like, the next time he came in, he brought, like, this handle of, like, plastic vodka that was spiked with some sort of blue drink. And I was like, dude, you can't fucking come in here with vodka in a fucking bottle and just be drinking out of it. Are you fucking crazy? So I felt bad. I had to fucking kick him out, and he seems like he's cool with me. He's chilled out since then. I'm in sunny Lake Worth Beach, Florida. Ooh, Czech Republic, love that. I worked with a guy from Czech, and he was the funniest guy, really sweet people. Love the Czech Republic. Never been, would love to go check out Prague at some point. Yeah, I definitely have a vibe. Oh, that's super cool, a fellow Floridian. Yeah, this synth, I said earlier in the stream, but it's actually grown on me. When I first like started messing with it, I was like, I don't know if I'm like gelling with this, because it's got that very bright thing like the Roland SH2, but just something about it wasn't there. But now I'm like, oh yeah, I'm into it. And of course, I demonstrated this earlier, but we can actually loop the ADSR. Ah, I love that. Perth. Pendulum, one of my favorite electronic groups from Perth. Where are you at in Canada, Aquatic? Yeah, so we're all like, a sound like that is so cool. Like, Just a totally like unique sort of watery type of tone. Particularly good with the tape delay effect I have on in the background, a little Valhalla vintage delay. And you can loop the amplifier too. Yeah, so that is the Polyvox. I feel like I've covered at least some of the basics there on what makes this synthesizer cool. To me, it's one of my favorite mono synths. It's just super unique. Obviously, not everybody can get one of these. They're kind of rare, and there are very few of them that survived in pristine condition like this. And so it's just a treat to have this in the studio, to be honest. It's super, super cool. So I think we're gonna call it there. Alcohol. Slam was... Well, Slam, yeah, that song changed my life when that came out back in, what? That 2002? That sounds too long in the past. 2012 or 2002, I don't know what it was. But anyways, guys, I'm Vulture Culture. We're gonna be doing a new stream every Wednesday at 9, checking out something new or cool or interesting. I am selling my Korg MS-2000B to my good friend and once member of Vulture Culture, Jackie Daggers. So in theory, if everything goes well, we're going to be doing a stream a little bit different next week. We're going to be checking out the Korg MS-2000B, but it'll be probably the first of these SCUM nights where I'm not going to touch the synth. I want to just be in the room hanging out with my friend Jackie while she gets to experience that synth hands-on for the first time, which will be a super cool thing. Jackie's one of my oldest friends and also collaborator. I would say Jackie's strength is in composition. She's a incredible writer, went to school for music, but you know, I'm more of the synth person when it comes to like the sound design and like oscillators and things like that. So it'll be fun to sort of get a different viewpoint on the channel. So that's this coming week. Assuming everything goes well, we'll be checking out Cyberpunk 2 for Avenger from Vengeance Sound the following week after that. And then I've got some more surprises for you coming up after that. So really excited to be doing all of that. My name is Vulture Culture. It's been so fun hanging out with you. Sorry for getting your name wrong, John. I'm so stupid sometimes. I hope you guys have fun. Thank you very much, Chad the Romex motherfucking king. Yeah, and we will do more, absolutely, Tom. There is a SCUM night every week because of you guys making it possible. So if you haven't yet, like and subscribe to the channel. I'm not really talking to you guys who are here in the chat right now, but most of the views come after my live stream. So you might be watching this stream in the future. And if you're in the future, please like and subscribe. And if you want to hook it up, hook a homie up, you can do that by hitting that join button down below. Super cool to do that. We got a new member, Jim, tonight. Super cool to have you part of the SCUM family, my friend. There's gonna be some new stuff coming along soon. Would love to do, I was talking to John from Edgetone Studios about doing a collaborative stream with the X80. Hopefully we can make that happen. Fingers crossed, we'll have to see if we can make the technology work. I love you guys very much, and I hope you have a wonderful, stay safe, a wonderful week, stay safe, and I can't wait to see you next Wednesday at 9. Love and light, bitches.